New investors often cold call the wrong way. And I guess there's no real wrong way to cold call, but to be honest, there kind of is. So in today's video, I'm going to go over, I guess, the things that I would have done if I were to start cold calling all over again, start from scratch, but knowing what I know today. And also, if you're new to the channel, my name's Justin Yearong, and I've helped hundreds of people make money in real estate. So first thing when it comes to cold calling is, I guess, how much of your time should be spent during cold calling when you're just getting started? And reality is, all of it. If you choose that as a marketing strategy to find deals, marketing is the lifeblood of your business. And if you are not marketing or you're not trying to find deals, you will not make money, meaning you are not going to be in business. Too many people claim to be in business when they are not actually doing business. So if you want to be the opposite side of the spectrum and you want to do business, you have to spend a lot of time on the marketing aspect. So if you do decide to cold call, literally spend your entire day doing so, whether it's getting the data or the phone numbers for people to cold call, or it's the cold calling itself. Like, that should be your whole day. You shouldn't really be doing anything else. At least that's what I would do now, knowing what I know now. When I was just getting started, it was not that way. Like, when I was just getting started, I focused on the business cards, the LLC, the office. Like, I got an office space. I didn't need an office space, but I got one anyways because I thought that's what you had to do. So focus on the marketing 100% on cold calling, literally like 6 to 8 hours a day. Like, that's where your time should be spent. As far as the speed of how much you can cold call, so back when I was starting, I just dialed from my cell phone. Like, every single number, I had a list of like a couple thousand people that I compiled, and I would just dial individually. Not answer, dial again. And that worked. Like, it definitely worked. It was free. I mean, I'd pay for my cell phone service, but free otherwise. And it did take a lot longer to dial. Like, I think I dialed a few hundred people every single day. Not that much, to be honest. Versus when I finally got a dialer, and if you don't know what a dialer is, it's basically a website where you can call from, and instead of like you having to dial every single number, you can get your list of people with all their phone numbers and all their data. You could import it. Is that the word? Yeah, I don't know. You can put it into the dialer system, and all the numbers are already there. Like, they're going to be transferred so that whenever you call someone, instead of having to individually dial the person every single time, like on a cell phone, all the numbers are there, and you just have to click the number, click, and it calls. And when you call, if they don't answer, you're like, okay, next person, click. Like, it's as simple as that, and that sped up the process so much. And then when you do get a dialer, there's even another option that most dialers have, which allows you to have what's called like a triple dial line, I believe. And it's basically where you have 3 lines you can call from instead of 1, because most of these people don't answer anyways. So if you call 3 people at once, 2 of them don't answer, but 1 does, you call 3 people instantly versus 1 person. So that speeds it up drastically. And when I got that, it literally sped me up from like a couple hundred people of dialing a day to like almost 2,000 people dialed a day. And that's a lot of people to call. And it allows you to get through lists way faster, get more deals and more leads and more money. So the dialer is pretty huge. And that was a big jump that I had from going from cell phone to the dialer. But again, the most important thing, whether you have the money to afford dialer or not, because they're like monthly subscriptions, whether you have the money or not, all your time should just be spent on the cold calling itself. Now, the second thing I want to mention is that if you're going to be going this route of cold calling, you need to have some type of CRM system. You don't know what CRM system is? CRM is an acronym. It stands for Customer Relationship Management. And it's just a system where you can keep track of the people you're calling and who is actually answering and like how the conversations are going. Now, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Like, actually, when I was just getting started, my CRM system, it was 12 file folders. Each file folder was marked for the month, so I had January, February, March, April, and so on. 12 file folders, and legit like blank pieces of paper. Blank piece of paper, and I'd write the seller's name. If they answered the phone, that's when I'd be writing. So like, they answer the phone, I'm on the phone, and then I'm writing down like the details of the conversation. And so as I'm talking to these sellers, they're like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to sell for a month. I'm like, cool, write it down. So for a month, and they don't want to talk more about selling right now because they're not ready or whatever it is. I'm like, cool, let me call you back in a month. And then I take the paper, I say, call back in a month, and then I take the paper and I move it to the next folder. So if I was in January and I said, okay, I'll call you back next month, I'd move the paper to the February filed folder. And then I literally did that for every single month. And so it was pretty simple because like it kept follow up really simple. It's like, okay, like here's February. Now I have to call all these people to follow up. So you need some type of system where you can call and follow up with people. Because if you are not following up with people, you are not going to make any money. In real estate investing or wholesaling, all your money or most of the money is made during the follow up. Like if you were to only cold call thousands and thousands of people and you expected to get a deal done and make money from just the very first touch or the very first call that you had with someone, you are in for a rude awakening, my friend. Like it takes a lot of time, a lot of follow up. Like I'd say on average, I don't have the data to support this, but I'd say on average, I have some data, but like not like exact data. On average, it probably takes like 7 months of follow up to actually get a deal because often people aren't fully ready to sell just yet. Now, in terms of the CRM system that you can use, I now use Podio. Podio is free to use. It's pretty simple, to be honest. And I made another video specifically on like a Podio guide and how you can organize your CRM or your, all the data that you have so that you can follow people properly. But even if you have the best CRM in the world, it does not matter if you are not taking the action and actually following up with people. The biggest mistake I see with people is that when they say they're gonna follow up with someone on a specific date at a specific time, they don't do it. So I was guilty of this too when I was just getting started. It honestly can be intimidating at first when you're just starting and you're like, oh, okay, I haven't talked to this person for a month. Last time they were kind of rude, like should I call them? Like, yes, call them, call everyone, because you're not gonna get a deal by just being shy and being afraid. Like you have to get a deal by talking to a lot of people, getting comfortable on the phone, being able to listen to people really well. And that's how you get a deal from cold calling. Like that's really how all your day should be spent. Now, as you're cold calling and you're calling, 1,000+ people every single month, assuming you have a dialer, and you're also following up, I kind of want to explain like how I would prioritize my time. Whatever day it was, whatever month it was, as far as follow-ups versus cold calls, like where do you spend your time first? I always try to spend my time first on the follow-ups first because I want to make sure that I'm nurturing all the leads. And over time, you can hire like certain parts out. Like you can hire someone to cold call for you. You can hire someone to nurture the leads and call them every single month until they're ready to sell. You can hire a closer. So after they're all nurtured, all these people are nurtured every single month, and then they're ready to sell, you can hire a salesperson to close the deal so that you don't have to do it yourself. So all these things can be hired out, but at the beginning, it's probably just you. That's what I was at the beginning. I was the cold caller, I was the lead manager, the person who nurtured all the leads every single month, and I was the closer. So when they're ready to sell, I close the deal. And I would focus on what's called like your hot leads first. So I don't know how to explain this, but a hot lead is basically someone who is ready to sell right now, and it makes sense at whatever price that they're trying to sell it at. So these are the deals that make sense. They're ready to go. And don't waste your time on all what's called the cold leads, all the people who are not ready to sell for like a year. Like don't waste your time on them first, or at least not before you deal with the hot leads. So always follow up with your hot leads first, prioritize those people. And typically my follow-up schedule looks something like this. Usually I'll call most people back to follow up every single month at least. If they're warm or hot, I might call back every 2 weeks, actually if they're hot, I'll call back like every day. Like I'll call them every single day if they're like, hey, like I'm ready to sell. But if they're warm, like I don't know, every week, every 2 weeks, you just kind of have to figure out a system for yourself. But focus on the hot leads first, then you can nurture the colder leads. And then once you kind of do all your follow-ups, because that's the most important part. Like if you don't do the follow-ups, you're not gonna make money. After you do that, then you can deal with all the cold calling. And it does get a little bit tiresome, so I definitely suggest for you to kind of space out your sessions. Like it might not be one straight hour, 6 to 8 hour session of cold calling. Like you might go hard for an hour, take a little break. Like go hard for another hour, take a little break. Like the breaks are essential to not burning out. And I know this from experience. Like cold calling is kind of tedious. Like it's a lot of work. It's so simple, but it's not easy. Like it takes a lot of time. Maybe not a lot of mental capacity, but a lot of time and a lot of effort. So that's how I would have spent the day just getting started in cold calling if I knew what I knew today. if that made sense. And also, if you just need help in general for your real estate investing business, I want you to click on the link in the description below for a free strategy session. But otherwise, peace.